We're going to call this work session to order. And Cami, what do we need to do we need to take roll? Approve the agenda. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda for the work session.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. First item of business this evening is to have a presentation by MSBA regarding our superintendent search. What?
There's some feedback from.
Oh. Todd, they're hearing some feedback.
Yeah. I'll just yell.
Okay, Tom.
My teacher voice, how
Well, good evening. We're excited to be with you this evening and to share the information from our survey and our community forum work. I hope you all are doing well. I apologize for not getting the boot memo of wearing my boots tonight, but I will look at that in the future and make sure I'm dressed appropriately for you guys. We are excited about sharing this information. I think you're going to find a lot of it very valuable. I hope a lot of it is very affirming to you also as we go through this process. And so what we have given you is a hard copy of the survey and forum results so that you can have that on your own. And Trent and I will be walking through a PowerPoint with you, and it actually mirrors pretty much what's in the report. And so as you go through, we can have that conversation. So we do want to share with you just everything that we have done since our last meeting here. And so the big one is, of course, we did run the survey. We're going to share that with you here in just a second of those results, of what that looked like. And we had our community forums. And so we have listed here your unions. So we did meet with both the NEA and MSTA. We appreciated their feedback. We also met a group that's not on here is the Chamber. We met with a Chamber group that was on here also. Directors, your administrative level, at the district level, at the principal level, we met with principals, assistant also, and then we had great meetings with your students. They were very informative as to what we had, and so I think you're going to enjoy that. We did have at the community forums that evening at the two schools while you guys are busy with the board meeting. We were having those. I would say we had disappointing turnout. I will just be very frank with you on that one. And I just call that an opportunity for improvement. And so one of the things that I would do in the future would be, particularly with your ESL group, in the future, I would probably reach out to those teachers that have that direct connections, and so they can invite the families to come in, because I think that would be a big piece, and they would have that trust and would want to come in. We had some, but not very many for that one, so I just want to be very honest with you about that. Really, our goals tonight are the same goals that we had when we met with your different stakeholder groups. And really, it's just to share just some of the key search information that we have so far, kind of gain a better understanding of the feedback of the stakeholder surveys. And the reason these are so important to us is that this will actually drive how we create and put together the screening questions and also your final interview questions. I think that'll be a key piece, particularly with a closed search, because we want to be as transparent, as we can with the public about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and reflect that back to them. And so that'll be important. We're not getting any more diverse feedback. We're going to share that with you and share the top priorities. And so we did want to share with you about the survey participation. Make sure I hit this. At your request, we did survey your students. And obviously, it was during lunchtime or a homeroom. So we have a lot of student participation here, which was great. And so we're going to share with you how we split that out too, so that it's interesting how little it did not skew any of the data, which is actually kind of interesting. You can see your teacher participation, 422, 530 of your parents, guardians, or current students also, drivers, others, however they name themselves on there. And so I think that's a good representation. The students are obviously, because it was held during that time, is why there's more. So what we want to share with you is really, we started out with, on the survey, the first question is, what are the strengths? And so where you see all, this is what came to the top for everybody. So the first thing that came out, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say congratulations or what on the recent passage of your next 10 years, but I think that settles some questions for your community. I think that's always good. So the 4-day school week came out as a strength. Always happy to see caring and dedicated teachers and staff. such an important piece. Academic growth, innovation, and career readiness is a strength for you. So it goes back to your academies, the work you're doing with your interns, and all those type of pieces. Student support and inclusion, and then operations stability, finances, and facilities. That was a big piece. When we talk with just your students and we pull up just the student data, and you'll see the ones that are highlighted in yellow, those are what were different from the rest of the group. So their number one was the 4-day school week. Now keep in mind, we were surveying secondary students, not elementary, so different perspectives there. But their Pathways program, they think that's a real strength for you. They really like it. Extra opportunities that they have, whether it's sports, music, theater, clubs, whatever, they consider that to be a strength. And they considered the inclusivity and the diversity a strength. And that came from the student side. As with anything, I also call these opportunities for improvement that we have, or challenges that we have. And so these are pretty common challenges, and I think in today's world with communication, we talked about that a little bit before. There's an expectation that everybody gets their information right now. And sometimes we can't do that, and also just how we communicate and make sure that it's clear district-wide. So communication transparency, staff support, retention, and working conditions came up, and so we'll dive into that a little bit. Academic rigor and resources. And then student behavior, accountability, and discipline. That is better, but we saw a lot of that coming out of COVID. And so part of that is just socialization. Excuse me. And then transportation, and I'm going to turn over to him before I choke.
I didn't expect you to get emotional tonight. It's okay. The last bullet on there was transportation and technology support. And when we dug into transportation a little bit, it was, not providing transportation with kids that live a little bit further away from school and the challenge to getting to school. Right. Technology support, as we dug into that, was maybe not kind of the just-in-time support with teachers that are trying to do newer, innovative things in some of the classrooms in particular. Again, we'll dive a little bit deeper into that as well. When we broke out the students on the survey, again, we highlighted in yellow some of the unique things that they mentioned on the survey, the secondary students. The top bullet there was pretty consistent there with discipline and strict policies, even though they said that slightly different. Student conduct and school culture was a bit of a challenge. Some kids actually self-described bullying situations, just situations of maybe inconsistent discipline or maybe lack of high expectations in some cases as well. But, in a roundabout way, it was a little bit encouraging to see how honest your kids were on some of these areas as well, to be honest with you. And then getting into some of the uniqueness here, academic and mental health pressures. A lot of their secondary kids talked about that, whether it's cell phones or just some of the social pressures that they feel as secondary students. Communication was consistent on all, from staff and parents and others, but wanting more student voice was also something that the students brought up in their own voice, wanting more say at the building level. And then I had to put on here, even though I struggled a little bit because I see this on a lot of surveys, but school lunch, wanting more options and perhaps what they would consider better school lunch was also brought up. So, not done one of these surveys where there's no challenges, but hopefully there's nothing on there that's a complete surprise either. When we put that all together on the survey specifically, we had folks rank and we asked them to pick their top 3 priorities, both personally for the next superintendent and professionally related to the national standards. And I'm sharing with you now a list of those combined, personal and professional traits. And so you can see here, the top thing is somebody approachable and accessible that people want in your next superintendent. Over half the people said that was a top priority, and this was students included. Somebody that will bring out success, empower, delegate, support other people, specifically administrative team, came up. Somebody who's a strong instructional leader and will lead that, not just for teachers, but for your administrative team as well. You can read the percentage there. Not a surprise, recruiting and retaining quality staff members. You saw that come out as a challenge. Was not surprised to see this as a top desired qualification on here as well. Building school and community relations was 30% of people that called that a top priority, which was also interesting. We met with the chamber, certainly for them. Promoting a community of care and support for students. This is around the wellness and just the inclusivity we talked about before that the students really want, and a lot of them feel like they have. Also, that openness to staff and community input. This was a big one. I actually wondered if this one wouldn't be a little bit higher after the focus groups, because you'll see that came out pretty loud and clear, which is no different, well, it is different, but on here was collaborative leadership. I put those together a little bit as well. And then lastly, and we just picked the top ones, there's a natural cutoff between, I think, number 11, but managing your district finances. You're in a great financial spot right now, but with things changing in the state and at the local level, somebody who stays on and understands the finances for the district to keep you in a strong financial spot was certainly a top priority. I'm going to pause there and let you digest that list just for a moment, and then we'll dig into focus groups. Any questions to this point? We're going to dive into the focus groups next.
And before we start with the focus groups that we're going to be talking about, I want to talk to you just a little bit about the process we used so you understand how we got the feedback. Because you'll see some of this in action here as we're doing it. So all those desired traits, we picked the top 6 and literally put them on large poster boards around. And then on each one of those, we would ask them, what is the evidence? How would we know that somebody is accessible and welcoming? What would be the evidence that we would know that that's the characters that we're looking for? How could they demonstrate that to us? How would they know that they are looking and supporting and developing your teachers? How would we know that? And so instead of getting the loudest voice in the room, we used Post-it notes, and everyone put their ideas on their Post-it notes, then put it on the large paper. And then we took their ideas and they went up and put together what went together and what was the most important to them. And that's what you're getting ready to see as they do that. And so these pictures are from those focus groups that we had. And so it really was a great process, and I can't compliment them enough. Seriously, whatever group we dealt with, they do come with a different viewpoint, but it's interesting how it all fed together, and I think you'll see that in just a second here. So Trent's going to talk you through the focus group process, and that's the sticky notes that you're seeing here. I want to explain to you what you were seeing on these pictures here.
Yeah, just one thing to clarify on that. We actually had the groups, we put that same desired qualification up with those bullet list of 10, and we asked them to prioritize the top 2 before they started identifying what would be the 6 indicators or the look-fors. So you're going to see a slide in a couple minutes on when we asked them to prioritize the top 2 priorities, you're going to see a list of those top priorities even more focused, okay? One other thing I want to note on this, yes, you see the chart paper there, but also when we met with the unions, we did all of those via Zoom. So that's a picture, if you're wondering why there's a Zoom picture up there, it was to give representation of the teacher unions that we met with via Zoom. Okay, so this is that slide that I mentioned. When I put chart paper all over the office and went through this, you can see now from the list of 10, when we went a little deeper with the focus groups, the desired qualifications that they surfaced and prioritized from that list, from the groups we met with. So you can see here 11 of those groups had that on their chart paper as a top priority as effectively managing district resources, where on the survey that was, I believe, number 10. Okay, so it was more of a priority in some of those groups that we met with. Does that make sense? Okay. Second there was that approachable and accessible, welcoming. That was number 1 on the survey, and it came up at number 2 when we organized all the focus group feedback. Okay. And you can see that list. Right behind that was that collaborative leadership. That was a top priority from the survey as well. Recruiting and retention, and right on down the line. Not that any of these are not important, they all are. Superintendent needs to meet all the standards, but we're trying to get some clarity around some of the top priorities.
Question.
Yes.
So for demonstrates collaborative leadership, was that like specified for district staff only or community?
It was both.
Okay, so that makes sense to me now to see how that weighed so heavily, and we kind of dropped some points down at the bottom of it, because one could see those being similar or one of the same in some ways.
Right. I agree with you. And because of that, I'll pay you later. I'm going to jump to that slide next, and I think it's on page, I can't remember in here, but we broke these out specifically in your report. So you can see, Anthony, I think this will provide you some guidance because some of the evidence that people listed were community-based or staff-based or administrator-based. So we tried to identify and summarize what are the expectations and what would success look like in those top priorities. And so this is the one, just because he brought up collaborative leadership style, this is the majority of the feedback, or at least the themes that came out of the collective feedback about what the superintendent could or should do to demonstrate collaborative leadership. Okay? You can see on that list, and these aren't in a particular order, but simply just recognizing and encouraging feedback and asking for it. Being open to staff and using multiple channels to get feedback, not maybe just a listening session or just a survey, but multiple avenues to get that feedback. Building trust, through decision making and making sure that when things are shared, it's factual and things like that people brought up in their own words. Staff not having any retaliation or perceived retaliation of fear of just retaliation in general. Promoting teamwork with the administrative team or staff or anything that they're facilitating. And then I thought it was insightful, a group, I can't remember what group, brought up managing change. Lots of change in a district, hopefully not just change but progress. And the superintendent really being the face of change often and managing it effectively. So collaborative specific, but this was some of the top evidence that people would expect. And then we'll go deeper in some of these others as well. Okay, so when we broke these down, kind of top down, just to get back to process here, we talked about managing finances. This was the evidence. Obviously passing audits and keeping the district in a strong financial condition was a top priority. Forecasting and strategic planning for the district, so you don't get in a spot where finances are an issue. Forecasting as much as possible. Maintaining competitive salaries was huge. It was big on the survey as well, but also brought up in focus groups. Providing avenues and flexibility to continue to innovate. You have some great programs now, technology and pathway programs, but continuing to look for ideas and opportunities for innovation. And then in other interesting, political and legislative knowledge. You guys are a large district with a large voice in the state. Having your superintendent continue to advocate for your district, but also public education in your state. And then a good faith effort working with your unions. They all said that and want to continue to maintain relationships with the unions so that things can continue to improve both with culture and retention in particular. Sure.
So I think I'll try not to choke here. So when they talked about approachable and accessible, because that did come up at the top as one of the big pieces. And so it's as much really as talking about just visibility. So it really was around greeting staff and students in the building, being out and about and seeing what's going on, making it a routine to be visible in the building. And frankly, from a superintendent's job, that's hard to do unless you schedule it and make it a plan. You have to make it a priority as you want to do that. Recognizing employee efforts came up a lot. And so really that came down to putting together a systemic and repeatable process for staff recognition. All staff, classified staff, certified staff, everyone that's working for you, but what does that look like? And what is that going to happen? And then finding methods to get voice from underrepresented parents and families. And I think you guys have even visited with that a little bit. And that actually came from the students also of having a student advisory board for your superintendent, those type of things, of getting those voices out there. Asking them for that feedback in multiple methods and languages because you do have so many languages. So what are different ways to get information back and not just be a one way to have that going? And then this last one really, as you can tell, came from our chamber group, engaging in the community with the local business, the Chamber of Commerce, and the community activities. So really that approachable and accessible. Are you out there? Are you attending games? Are you going to things? Do they know who you are? And do your students know who you are? Do your customers know who you are? So those are the biggies that we had on that one.
Hiring and retaining staff was also a top priority that came up, in the top 5 on both the survey and the focus groups. And so you can see some of the evidence that was mentioned by the focus groups in particular about salary and benefits, which you'd probably expect to see. But other things like hiring early or as early as possible, and you can anticipate dates so you can get the best candidates before maybe they're snatched up by another district. Hire and retain and provide professional development to your administrative team so they can continue to enhance their skills and grow together. Provide training for developing new leaders, kind of grow your own in a lot of ways. This was a little bit of a surprise, but providing training for classified staff as well. And I know there's some efforts in the district to do that. And then create a positive culture where people actually, maybe not just with salary benefits, but the culture is good enough that they don't want to stay. Or if things were equal, they would choose independence. So that was some of the efforts around hiring and retaining staff. We talked about collaborative leadership. And if I summarize all that, because I'm talking a lot tonight, we tried to just summarize in maybe a short list about, okay, let's put all this together for the board. You know, they hired us to help synthesize this a little bit and what we're looking for. And Jeanette talked about us taking this feedback with your guidance in helping draft questions, but also help screening candidates looking for these things that the community, the board, stakeholders say they need right now. So when we put all that together, we tried to make a succinct slide here to say this could be, is getting closer to identifying, in a nutshell, the ideal candidate for independence. And I'll give you a chance to read that. But strategic, compassionate, and visionary leader that combines the financial management with innovation, develops and empowers staff to reach their full potential, whatever role they have in the district, lead with transparency, collaboration, and that approachability piece. That was a top priority. And then build a safe, inclusive, and future-focused school that reflects your community values. Hopefully that we've taken a first draft at starting to pull together what an ideal candidate looks like, and it's our job to go recruit as many options as possible. Yep. Then last but not least, I will just mention right now, as of today, hope this is okay to say, we have 4 candidates submitted, and we have 4 in progress. So that's the update on candidates today. We have lots more conversations. Anticipate we'll have a very strong pool yet. Made a lot of connections at the conference and calls. Some of your candidates are working on recommendations right now, conversations with families, delaying conversations until Thanksgiving. But you will have a strong candidate pool. Before I breeze over this slide, this is the advice that came out of the survey as well. Lots of great advice. The school lunch advice, the people gave advice. There's no doubt about that. We just grabbed a snapshot of this. Love the quote up in the top corner there. But what I want you to know more than the few quotes that are on the screen is that we actually take the advice from the survey, all of it. We save it and put it off to the side. And when you hire your next superintendent, we will make sure they get that document with all that advice. And we hope they take 15 minutes, read through it, and it's an advantage to get off to a good start. So I want you to know we have kind of scraped all that advice for later. Let's pause there. Let's get your feedback and questions around the survey and the focus group information we shared with you tonight.
Can you share with us, in the other superintendent searches that you have done, what kind of percentage do you typically see between number of students and number of people participating? I see that we were like around a little over 2,000 with a school district of like 14,000. How does that compare percentage-wise to what you typically see?
Yeah, I would say everybody usually wants more feedback, to be honest with you. That is a norm. You had more student feedback because you gave students time to complete it. So we saw more student feedback on your survey than others. I would say the staff, parents, others, pretty consistent. I would say, if anything, like Jeanette said, we were probably a little more disappointed in the focus group feedback. But with that being said, even if you had 100 more people there, I feel like a lot of the feedback we would have got would have been fairly consistent.
Brings up another question. I saw that there were 22 school board members, so I'm a little bit curious, where are 22 school board members?
You know what, I thought that was amazing, frankly. So I have a feeling that when students take the survey, or when adults take the survey, and they're asked who they are, we don't get to verify who they are. They get to tell us. It's anonymous, so they get to tell us who they are. So congratulations. I noticed that too. Actually, from the other surveys in the other districts that I've done, actually you had some of the highest feedback numbers on surveys. It's really hard to get numbers on surveys right now. And it wasn't from lack of trying or communication from your team. Trust me, they did a yeoman's work on this.
For the student focus group,
Mhm.
how were those students selected?
Their principals actually selected them and sent them to us, so we had Van Horn, we had all three of the groups there. Great feedback for them, so, but they came from the building leaders.
Can you tell me what the average number of applicants you see based on the school district size of 14,000? Like you're talking about 8 right now, probably going to go up. What would be the average number that we would probably expect to see based on your past experience?
We can both talk about this because I think the pool has changed a little bit, honestly, over the past few years. In the years following COVID, lots of turnover in the state of Missouri. We had over 150 new superintendents. I mean, it was a ridiculous number. And so you're seeing those numbers kind of change just a little bit as you're coming through. You're also seeing a change, frankly, in the superintendency itself. Very young superintendents. We have a lot of very, very, very young superintendents in the state of Missouri right now. And so that's just an important piece of this as you do that. You know, we have what the average has been for all of our districts as we do this. I think you're going to end up someplace around, I'm going to predict someplace between 16 and 24. I'm going to predict that. To see where they are, just because I know the people I've talked to or the phone calls I've taken. It's just a matter of do they complete that application. There's one thing to start your application, it's a matter of do they complete it. I just want to make sure we're getting you high quality candidates is the goal that Trent and I are both working on that one. Do you have a specific number you want to provide there, Trent?
I think somebody asked me this last time where we addressed it, and I wrote it down, and I just remember that. So just to give you, the pools are changing, and I can tell you our focus is on the quality, maybe not the end number, but the more options, the better. Last year at Columbia, we had 32 applicants. Last year at St. Joe's, we had 28, Webster Groves 29, Wright City 24, Hannibal 18. I had looked those up just to anticipate that question last time, so that's some hard data to give you an idea where your candidate pool could be.
Do any of those districts have roughly 14,000 students?
Yeah, Columbia would be larger. Some of the others I'm not exactly sure, but those would be the closest comparables I could give you in pool. 29.
And those are small.
They were also on a similar timeline, which plays into it as well. If it was a later hire, I would anticipate those numbers go down.
The Liberty superintendent announced his retirement. Do you foresee that being a healthy competition?
You will actually finish before they will. Your timeline finishes in mid-January. Theirs will not finish, I don't think, until the end of February is where it's going to be. And again, as we talked before, two different school districts, you're looking for two different things. You really are. And so will there be competition? Will there be overlap on some of that? I would assume there would be, yes. And in full transparency, we pitched to them today. So I don't know if we'll be leading that search or not. So just full transparency. Other thoughts? Does it line up to what you thought you were going to see? Any surprises, I guess, would be the question that what I might ask.
I think my surprise was the difference in the surveys, you know, kind of the rankings, and then what the focus groups ranked as most important. That was surprising.
I agree with you. I think it's always interesting when you do these surveys. I always like to do what do you think is important? And when people put what they think is important, everything is important. When you ask them what's most important, then they will flip. Almost every time. I know we always did that in our strategic planning processes. What's important? Everything. Everything's got to be important. What's most important? What was down to number 10 becomes number 1. And so I think that's part of the challenge. But that's the importance of those focus groups, is to really dig down, because otherwise we would have thought this is what the answer is, instead of the focus groups. And because you heard that from your students, your staff, and your community, I think that's a pretty good validation.
I also just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the summarizing and how you broke it down for us, put it very succinctly. So thank you for that.
Good.
I also think that this potentially is a tool that we can use going forward to help us with looking at things that we're not, areas that we need to get stronger in,
Mhm.
and ways that we can do better.
We will share this with Megan, of course, to put on your communication, and we will share this with all of your applicants also, because we want to make sure that that's a good fit for them as well as for you. This is what you're looking for. If this is not where your strengths are or where you can help and support and build and grow, then we want to make sure that we get the right candidate here for you too. And so that's important. I had that question, frankly, at about 4 o'clock today. Can you tell me what that is so I can align? So it's good. Mr. Robertson, you had a question?
No question. All I was going to say was, having not done this before, I didn't know what to expect, but I'm very impressed with what you've done.
Oh.
So I like that you've done this stuff. It's very plain out there for us.
Thank you. We want to be as transparent as possible at all times. And frankly, that's why we wanted to do this now, so that it's very transparent out there. Are there other questions? Because there's another part we do want to talk to you guys about. If you don't have any questions or comments or thoughts on that you'd like to share.
Just wanted to mention one other thing. I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
especially with us, putting this out so that other people can see the meeting. I think it will be interesting to see which candidates are savvy enough to watch and see what it is. And I will be looking for candidates that reference these specific items. So I think it's a great tool for us to use in that way as well.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So one of the things we do want to nail down with you and working with and with President Dixon on this is making sure we have our calendar set up correctly for January and our timeline. So we're going to, just a reminder for everyone in the public is that the apps will close on December the 31st. This group will be meeting on January the 8th to review all the applications. And remember, you'll have the applications. We will send those to you ahead of time electronically so you can read through those. At that meeting, we will bring you the summaries of those so that you have it in a nice place. One of the things that's on the summary, I think I mentioned this before, I'm sorry, I've been to too many board meetings lately, but one of the questions we used to be able to ask was, what is their current salary? We can no longer ask that question, it's illegal. We can ask their range, is what we can do. Desired range of what we want on that one. So just as an FYI, that's what you would see on that piece as we're doing it. So on January 8th, we will look at all those candidates. On January 15th, we will screen. You guys will be in person. The candidates will be on Zoom. So this group will be meeting in person. The candidates coming on Zoom because we don't know where they're coming from. And remember, this is a screening. This is not a long one. And then January 21st will be the finalist interview. So we want to talk to you about a couple of things. One, we want to verify the dates and the times. And I'm going to push you a little bit. I'm going to be very direct with you on that finalist. I really feel like we're going to suggest a time to you. I want you to very seriously consider it because one of the respect for your candidates coming in and to give you time to do that, this is your most important hire. And so it may require some time from you. And so I just want to talk about that. So this is what we're looking at on the schedule. So it says district tour. So that will be either one of your assistant superintendents or your deputy superintendent, giving them a tour around the district. And so that they can all see that, trust me, there's not an applicant you're going to have that hasn't been spending time in Independence. They're going to come and spend the weekend. They're going to come to your restaurants. They're going to come check it out. That's what they're going to do. But this is a tour that we always want to do. And then the board interviews. And so this was just with 3. If you have 4, we can expand it out. Part of this is it's January. We want them to see your district and your community, not be in the dark. So we do want that to be during the daytime. And so that's why I'm pushing hard that we would start this no later than 2:30, so the first board interview would be at 1:45. But we could get those tours in and still be respectful of your time and your jobs. So we just want to have that conversation this would be on the January 21st schedule. So can we talk about that just a bit and see where you guys fall on that one? And then we'll come back and confirm the other dates. I just want to, let's stay with the last date first and let's see where we are. And can we commit to that or not? Can I get a thumbs up?
Yeah, we have it marked already on our calendars.
Does it start at 12:30?
Yeah, well, it starts at 8 a.m. till,
You had all day. So
Yeah.
now you got half a day back, so it's a gift. How's
There
that?
you go.
Is that good? Okay, you guys are fine with that? If you decide that you want to interview 4, then we may need to back that up earlier so that you have time to do the tour and the interview. Does that make sense? Just want to be fully transparent so as we have these conversations, you're really thinking ahead of what that could look like. We're all good? Okay. Let's back up and confirm these other dates so we know when the deadline ends. I know it's December 31st. And then on the 8th, no doubt about the 8th and the time that we have on that. Cammie, what time do you have for that? Is that what everybody else has? I'm making sure we're all on the same page. Yes.
I'm just going to back up real quick just to clarify for everybody here. On December 31st, that application deadline, that's scheduled to close at midnight. We need about 48 hours to finish pulling those applications, make sure pages aren't flipped, all that silly stuff, that happens technology-wise. And then we will provide a link, an open link to a folder for the board, and you'll be able to go through those application materials. That'll include cover letter, resume, recommendation letters as part of that folder. The other information that you'll get phase 2, so you will have roughly then from January, say, 2nd through January 8th.
Here's our challenge.
Staff.
Here's the challenge we have. It's the holidays. And so actually we are bringing in a staff member on January the 2nd. They're going to come in to help with the application process. That's their job to do part of that. So it will be at probably Monday, Tuesday at the very latest that you will get those apps. So I just want to be very upfront with you. Just because it's the holidays and they are closed except for this one employee that's coming in that's going to help us with this part. So yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
and will that include your ranking?
No, we will bring those with us on that day.
Oh, on the 8th.
Yes, we want you guys to have a chance to read through those applications and build that yourself, and you will get that electronically. When we bring that day, thank you for asking that question, we'll bring you the rankings on that day, and we'll also bring you the summaries so we can go through those together. So that will start at 5:30. So I'm going to shoot really hard for the 5th. That's our goal, is to get them to you. If I can get them to you at the end of the day on the 2nd, we'll do it. But I don't want to overpromise here, okay? I just want to be honest.
And I have that down as room CO-1A.
That would be a question for Cammie.
Yeah, I don't know that we've actually confirmed the room, so Cammie will let us know what, she did put that on the schedule right now, but we just confirm it. Yeah. Yeah.
We can get the rooms to you and get those sent to you so that you have that.
And you were saying for the 15th, we may.
Hang on, are we all good with the 8th? We're fine, starting at 5:30. I got 5:30 to 8:30 marked on mine just because I never know how things are going to go. Okay. And then on the 14th, I have the 15th up there, so that's what we're checking. We've gone back and forth, so I want to make sure we're on the same page. That's why we're doing this right now.
I had it down for the 14th.
Yeah, I had it on the 14th, but the 15th as a snow
As
day
the
backup.
snow day backup.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have the 14th too, and I have it at 4. Is that what we all have? And then the 15th,
14th at 4, yes.
the 14th at 4, the snow day backup would be the 15th, same time. Just pray for no snow. We haven't had rain, maybe we won't have snow. Who knows? You never know in Kansas City. So the 14th and then the 15th is the backup. Correct, Cammie? We're on the same place? And then we have the 21st is your interview date. And so we just talked about that, starting in the afternoon. Then we have to move that a little earlier, we will, based on your choices of who you want to interview on your finalist.
So that's
And
what I
then-
was clarifying, if we were to choose the 4th, then it would start at 2.
We would need to so that we can get them through the tours and things. Yes, ma'am. And then the backup date for that one is actually the next day, the 22nd, if we had to have it. Fingers crossed we don't. It's just January in Kansas City, as we all know.
I would say let's just hold the whole day if
I
we
was
might
waiting
come in.
to-
I would
early.
keep it held right now.
That's what I was doing. sorry.
Yeah. You may decide, yeah. I want the board to have a little choice on that, little flexibility we got. So we're good. All right, Cammie, do you mind just reading through those dates again, just so everybody has them? Make sure we're good. Okay? And the other thing I want to make sure we're talking about is for the public not to expect an announcement on January the 21st or even the 22nd. That will be when the board will decide who they want to enter negotiations in with, but we'll try to get that done as quickly as we can. So I just want to be very transparent with your public.
How long do the negotiations usually take?
It kind of depends. What we're going to try to do on that one, I think we shared with you earlier, we will ask them to fill out a sheet, a document, what their expectations are, and it includes everything, even down to what is their family's commitment to being here in the district, because we want to know. We know that's an important piece to you. And so what is that going to include? And then what are those expectations? And then we have your contract that you currently have, so we know what those are offers, what you have. But if they have something different, we would go back and forth between your attorney, frankly, and their attorney. And there's a piece in there around sunshine about after then you in a board meeting, public board meeting, that's when you would make your final vote. And so that's the one that counts, is that big one right there.
We will do our best to make sure it goes smooth.
So would we need a special meeting then, potentially? Because our next scheduled board meeting after the 21st isn't until the 10th of February.
I would say yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that can be at your normal 6 o'clock. It wouldn't take from your work day. Shouldn't need to do that.
How many days do you think we should allow after the 22nd to set that meeting?
Yeah, I would say the next week at the latest, because we want to get this wrapped up.
Probably need some business days. Because if they're doing work with the attorneys, doing it over the weekend might be an issue, so.
I would just say early the next week, a Tuesday probably. You're interviewing on a Wednesday, Thursday is our backup, so by the following Tuesday. Yeah. Did you guys usually meet on Tuesday?
Yeah. Do we want to go ahead and just block it? We can always change it if need to, but maybe block the January 27th for their.
And if you guys, every board does it differently, if you need to change your calendar so it's out there for the public and do that as an action item in the future, you can do that too.
No, it's easy for me to have it there, so nothing can be put there.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, just like for a special board meeting. Yeah.
And we will work with your communication department at the same time with that too.
Will that be an open?
It would be open, that would be open. Yes, ma'am. I know it's a lot. You guys have been fortunate, you have not had to do this in quite some time, so. It is a lot. Well, we appreciate everything that you guys have done. I appreciate, we'll continue with the updates. We'll probably wait, and when we get to December, I'll just send you a weekly I'll probably send you one more before Thanksgiving, just because I know it's just a slower time. We're getting some apps, but not as many, but then it'll start to pick up. And we'll just continue to communicate that. I hope that's working for you, just to get that email and give you those numbers. So. Any other questions? I think the other thing that we will do at the application meeting on January the 8th, at that meeting, we'll also review the questions and have that aligned to what you just saw in the survey report. As your screeners, that's the greatest place to start. We want to make sure they align, just as Ms. Fears was talking about. She wants to make sure they paid attention. We're going to make sure they pay attention. Anything else that you'd like to add? I think you're in a great spot. So, if nothing else, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I don't have anything else on the agenda for this evening, and so I'm glad that we were able to get through that in a reasonable time, but we obviously finished up quicker than we thought we would. So we're going to go ahead and adjourn until our 6 o'clock meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
We're adjourned.